All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the American Society of Dowsers online workshop. This is the first of a 10 presentation series that starting with this one. Our guest this evening is Susan Collins. Susan is an internationally acclaimed keynote speaker and workshop leader with a dynamic professional practice. She uses traditional dowsing tools as well as the power of the heart, thought, and gut to detect and transform non-beneficial earth, environmental, psychic, and other energy patterns. She has led workshops and presented in person at conferences across North America, the United Kingdom, Italy, Japan, the Middle East, and was featured in the Renaissance documentary and has a dowsing series on 5D TV. Susan has written many books and developed the Life Cards Oracle system. She is past president and Dowser of the Year for the Canadian Society of Dowsers, and she is an ordained metaphysical minister. After the presentation's finished, we can also talk a bit about where you can find her books and how you can also find her online. So without further ado, I shall very pleased to present Susan Collins. Oh, forgot to mention, if you have questions for Susan during her presentation, please put it in the chat. We're going to keep everybody muted during this presentation since we have such a large group. I'll be monitoring the chat, and when we get to the Q&A portion of the presentation, I will be going through the chat and asking your questions for you. Okay, so now, without further ado, we turn to Susan Collins.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really honored and pleased to be here to kick off the virtual workshop series. So thank you to Bill, who's our MC for tonight, and thank you to Sandy Isgro and the board of the American Society of Dowsers for coming up with this great idea. And most importantly, to Lisa Lacoste, the head office manager, who just does everything behind the scenes. So whatever excellent work is going on, Lisa's behind that, as well as the board. So I'm very happy to be here. And you know, what a great topic. All the mistakes I've made in my 20 years as a professional dowser. So it's like, no matter what goes wrong tonight, we go, oh, I meant to do that. That was just a mistake. So also welcome. Some of you I've met in person. I know some of you have been in my workshops. I know some of you are from different countries. And I also want to acknowledge the weather we're having right now and the circumstances. And we just do the best we can. So let's bear with us together. Personally, I love, even though we're not in person, we are a global community around the world, basically. And just simple ways like this, we can find each other again and form our community and do the work we need to do. So I'm very pleased to be here. I'll speak for about 45 minutes. And then, as Bill said, throw your questions in the chat, and I hope to answer them as we go along. So I'm going to share my screen now, and Bill's going to tell me if he can't see it, but I think he can. So dowsing mistakes I have made so you don't have to. And what we want to do with this is to keep you safe and accurate. So I'm professional dowser. I also work with people. Many of my clients, I have to be honest, are people who get in trouble jumping into the energy without training, without orientation, without really understanding the risks involved. So I screwed up big time all these years. So I want you to be safe and accurate. As Bill mentioned, I'm a metaphysical minister, which means that my religion, by law, I am required to say that my religion is metaphysics, which is the study of the nature of reality. And I think as dowsers, and I'm sure everybody on this call, we are all trying to figure out what the heck is going on. We have our real world, but there's another real world around us, many real worlds around us. And what many of us spend our time doing is sorting that out for ourselves. So with my colleague, I am internationaldowsers.org. My colleague Graham Gardner, who is next up, I think, in the series, and he's based in Scotland. And in the picture, you can see Graham there, and there's Sandy Mack, Nancy Bradley, and in this picture, I am receiving my name, Carrier of the Sacred Water, Water Woman, from my colleague White Eagle. So that was a great honor, and that happened at a ASD National Convention a few years back. I've also studied in the Canadian native tradition with many horses, with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, within the Celtic tradition and the Kabbalistic tradition. And it's just, investigating, collecting, trying to figure it out. So my journey, how did I get here? Why is it, why am I the one up here? I was clairsentient from birth, but without any training, without any acknowledgement, and anybody in my generation may have experienced this. So I literally, that's not a picture of me, little girl crying in a stool, but I literally would play inside a stool for protection, because I didn't know. I could feel things all around me. I was clairsentient and didn't know what it was. I eventually grew up, got into big time money, had a health crisis, and was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And my hands were claws for 23 years. So this is the story I tell, because, why do we dose? How do we get into this? Usually it's through an emotional or physical crisis that we get into it. For me, it was a physical crisis. My body broke down. 1999, I found dosing. It took me 5 years, but I was drug-free. I'd been on steroids and all the rest of it, and my hands opened up. So I haven't been on drugs since 2005. So that's a long time. And my self-care is completely dowsing. It's completely energy. It's my only modality. It's all I do. I take a vitamin supplement. I exercise and sleep, but everything now is just dowsing. Along the way, I found out that the autoimmune disorders can be the self not recognizing the self. And we wonder, why am I here? And part of that is soul's purpose. Once you can align yourself with your soul's purpose and know why you are here, sometimes things fall into place, which is excellent. And I want to start off thanking my teachers. And this is Bill Getz took this picture again at an ASD National Convention. And there's White Eagle, and look at the light around him. And this is not a camera failure. This is an individual who emanates light, and we all do, but we don't all see it. And there's Sandy Mack again and Nancy Bradley again. But I would like to start tonight by thanking the teachers more properly. And some of you may know these people and some not. One of the last times I spoke at ASD National Live, not everybody remembered these people. So I know Sherry Hope will remember. This is the late Walt Woods, who wrote Letter to Robin. Of course, Raymond Grace, who is up and kicking our butts a lot of the time. Many Horses, Ed Stillman, our hero, who passed recently, and we honor him tremendously. My buddy Graham Gardner, who's coming up next, Patrick McManaway, a past president of the British Society, now living in Vermont, and some of you know him. There's Sandy Mack, again, a past president of the ASD. Who have I got in there? John Wayne Blassingame, who, anyway, David Cowan from Scotland, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lynn McTaggart, Merlin Beltane out in the Questers, out in the West. Again, there's the late, great Ivan Macbeth. And Gary Skillen, and Pearl Nicolini, Gladys McCoy, and it's hard to remember everybody, Karen Ashley, Joey Corn, Harold McCoy. What a roster of people. So any mistakes I made are completely my fault, but certainly I was inspired by all these people. And I've always said that we should go and visit, take a class with the oldest person you can find, because they know the most, very likely. So what did the teachers teach me? Share what you know. And that was right from the very first thing. Don't be selfish. If you know something, help somebody, share it, be in service. And for me, that's always been the key for my personal success in healing, is to help other people. Give me the wisdom to share. Heal me if there's anything wrong, and give me the wisdom to share. Be in service and do the best you can with what you have where you are. Also, this is normal, because when I grew up, and maybe in your families as well, as what we are able to do, what we can do, what we are plagued by, these are all very real experiences for us. But for those of our friends and family who don't experience at this level, they don't know what to think of us. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been made fun of. But this is normal. This is what I say, our birthright technology. It's our birthright technology. We are sensitive people. We are gifted. This is normal. And if we don't use these skills, like who's going to do the work? It's up to us to do the work. So my work, I have a broad practice doing health, well location, ghost and alien busting, contracts negotiations, basically whatever's out there. And through all that, I've written all these books. And it's my purpose always to share what I know. As soon as I write a book and get it printed, then more information comes in. So it's like emptying the cup so more information comes in. And a lot of these books are available at the ASD bookstore as well as on my website. So what is dowsing? Maybe some of you are listening in and like, what the heck is dowsing anyway? And the definition I use these days is it is applied consciousness. We have our conscious, our subconscious, the superconscious. Just as in engineering is applied science. So we have energy, we have consciousness, and we apply it. And with dowsing tools, we learn to direct the energy for outcomes. And that is the training. So I had somebody come over the other day to buy some L rods, and she's and this is not funny, but she's lost her dog. She's never used L rods. She drove an hour to get to me, got some L rods, and then asked the L rods, "Where's my dog?" It's like, you have to learn to use the tools first. So it's pacing ourselves is one of the things. Don't do the work. That's the bottom line. Do the work. So applied consciousness. And dowsers, we detect energy and we transform it. So I think older school dowsing, it was, oh yeah, I can see it. There's energy there. I can detect there's energy in the corner, beneficial, non-beneficial. But what we do today is to transform the energy, and that's really the key. This was again taken at an ASD national conference. And I can't remember the photographer's name, but we're in community, and being in community and having full hearts, the energy manifests as orb energy. So it's quite special. What's the fundamental rule of the universe? Is there a universal law? And I believe there's a term called panpsychism, meaning that everything has consciousness. And that's the view I subscribe to. This is not to say that everything has human consciousness, but that everything does have consciousness. And as dowsers, what we do is meet the energy in a place where it can communicate, or we can communicate with it. So panpsychism, applied consciousness. With that, we can communicate with all things, whether it's the planet, an animal, outer space, whatever. We can communicate with all things and with all times. So we do time travel. And, are we physically going there? It's hard to say, because our consciousness is there. We apply our consciousness in different spaces, times, dimensions, realities, frequencies. And if you can stay coherent, and this is the primary job of the dowser, and the early mistakes I made was not being able to stay coherent when I traveled and encountered energies. So it's practice. This is, we don't want to scare you, but, just don't pick up a pendulum and go on some, be careful. Be careful. Because dowsing is not a substitute for common sense. And it does not replace medical or legal advice. So I always suggest to people, if they have any problem, follow your doctor's instructions, consult a lawyer, consult a tax attorney, call the police. There's two methods of solving problems. One is physical, by doing those sorts of things. The other is energetic. So I always suggest to people, first do everything you can think of physically. Don't be lazy about it. And then bring out your dowsing tools, and then seek an energy solution. So the dowsing tools, probably most of you have a pendulum right in your pocket, and there's bobbers and L rods, and people use their fingers, or other deviceless dowsing, it's called. So this is one of the things I've seen people have trouble with. For me, if I use the tool, the energies are resonating in the tool. If I don't use a tool, the energies are resonating in my body. So if I encounter a toxic energy and I'm sensing it with my body, I'm actually putting that in my body. So I always recommend, when possible, to use physical tools. you will find, of course, that you probably know the answer before your tool moves. Once you get, the rhythm of it, the whole thing going, you will know the answer before the tool moves. But it's a safety thing. So remember I said we want to be accurate, we want to be safe. And, I've seen people get sick by not being safe. So good practice, best practices. So why are we dosing? And I would suggest it's to create and maintain successful ongoing outcomes, whatever that is to you. So, whether it's a well or relationships or finances or whatever the heck it is, we want to create and maintain. So the maintain is a key word in this, ongoing outcomes. So when you do energy and you just ask for a solution, you might get the solution in that 1 second, but will the solution hold for tomorrow? Who knows? So we ask for successful ongoing outcomes. And I always use the words as well, as appropriate. If we ask for outcomes as appropriate, we can't, things don't backfire. And I did that early in my career, not asking for things, thinking I knew what was needed, which is just ego talking. It's honestly, it's a small mind that thinks it understands what's needed, what the problem is and what's needed. So we ask, in my case, the divine source to guide our hands, as Ed Stillman might have said. And so what are you using dosing for? Be careful what you wish for. Here's a little cartoon. There's the genie, the magic lamp, and the guy says, I want enough money to last the rest of my life. And the genie says, granted, you have 1 week to live. So it's extremely important to be clear on what you want, because things can backfire. So that brings us to mistake number 1, not knowing what you want from a session. And what can you do about that? I would say set your intention before you begin. Write it down in a simple sentence. And the key is write it down. And I was taught originally to write it down in pencil and then to dose every single word of my intention or my question and to erase the words that weren't productive. And then, so finally what I'm left with on a piece of paper is exactly what I'm looking for, because our brains, our little conscious minds, they're flitting all over the place all the time. But if you can write it down on a piece of paper and even put your hand on it while you're dosing and look at it, then that really helps to focus your mind. This is, we talk about mindfulness, we talk about mental training. We are learning to create with our brains a laser-like focus that can stay focused on one thought, which is very hard for normal people because of the monkey brain. So there's preparation that's needed. But before you begin, it's not a party game. You don't just pull out your pendulum and show people. Sometimes people say, oh, can you dose, what I should do today? So, well, no, not really, because there's a process you go through. So here's a key thing, intention plus physical action. So know what you want. The physical action is the dosing tool. Intention plus physical action gives you the miracles. And honestly, I'm not afraid to use the word magic and miracles in my life. And it's taken me maybe 20 years to be able to say that. But I do believe that we are on the right track of changing matter, of manifesting matter, of eliminating, of creating, bringing things in and out of dimension. And we do it with dowsing. Here's another cartoon, because I love these. And I'm sorry if you can't see this on your phone or whatever, but I'll read it out. There's a couple on the Ouija board, and they're taking down the message. And it says, did you know you can call up any spirit for just 10 cents a minute? Just our luck, we contacted a dead telemarketer. No offense to telemarketers. We all, especially these days, we earn our living however we can. But this is an example of, if you gotta know what you're connecting to. And somebody wrote in this afternoon asking if I would talk a little bit about how do you know what you're connecting to. So it's an important aspect. It brings us to mistake 2, expecting somebody else to fix the problem. So, we are each responsible for ourselves. As parents, we are responsible, And we can dose for our children up until about the age 10, 11, something like that. Beyond that age, these children have their own sense of themselves. Without permission, we should not be dosing for anybody else. We shouldn't be trying to fix anybody else. Neither should we be relying on somebody else to fix you. Like we go to the doctor and they fix your broken leg. But if you've got an energy problem, a lot of the solution is going to be coming from within you. So if I'm working with people, for example, we'll lay out, well, here's what we see is going on, and here's what I suggest you do energetically, fully participating in solving one's own problems. So as we've said, this is my favorite quote from Theodore Roosevelt: do what you can with what you have where you are. It'll never be the right time. You'll never have enough knowledge. You'll never have enough experience, but you just start doing it. Do what you can. Do what you can for yourself and help other people. And that is the big secret, helping other people as well. Another mistake, taking on something beyond your skill level. And this poor little guy, and maybe I'm not a doctor, but I look at his body and I look at his age, and I know a little bit about children, and this sort of exercise on a young child will probably result in long-term damage. I don't know that, but it makes me feel very sad looking at that picture. So if the mistake is taking on something beyond your skill level, I would suggest know your limit and douse within it. Early days, I would go out there, especially with energies. I call them extra consciousness, a conscious energy that would lock on, get locked into your energy field somehow. It would get in there because I didn't have the proper protection. So you need to be know what you are capable of. Know what you're capable of, and also have a buddy that if you're a sole practitioner, it's hard, and now we're all alone. But especially with the American Society of Dosers, there are groups everywhere, and you can be in touch with somebody to say, hey, I something happened to me. Can you check it out? So we can rely on each other. So community is a really important aspect. The other thing, and those of you who've heard me speak know this is to be true, the solution that I have come up with over all these years and all those wonderful teachers, and standing on their shoulders, as we all do, for my safety and for my healing, I developed or enhanced a dosing protocol. And I will send this to you, but then I'm going to say it very briefly. So before you start dosing, balance your physical body, connect with yourself. I always ask to connect with my human body for my good health. I ask to connect with the intelligent and beneficial energies of nature, and then the divine source, and then my spirit team as well. I have a forgiveness element in there. Creator, forgive me. I forgive myself. I forgive all those who've harmed me. I release them from my body, mind, and spirit. I ask all those who I have harmed to release me so I am free. Without that little element, there can be, and we hold people accountable. If we can't forgive them, this is from my teaching, that if we can't forgive somebody, hold them accountable, but don't drag it around. So it's like, in order to be good dosers, we have to empty the bucket of our sad emotion, of our anger, of our humanness. So we become, I believe, as we are dosing full on, we are avatars for the panpsychic force, for the divine source. Like we are the angels and the avatars and all the rest of it. So this helps us get rid of our little human ego. I'll say my little human ego, or my big human ego. Step 4, we clear ourselves of non-beneficial energies. And this reminds me of the Zen master pouring tea, and the cup is too full. So empty out all the non-beneficial energies and then pour in the beneficial energies. If you just disconnect non-beneficial energy, it does leave a vacuum. So you need to consciously bring in beneficial energy. Then the permissions to dose. If you dose on other people without their permission, it is not a good thing. I'm not going to say more about that. The dosing is the easy part. And then step 8 is to create the ongoing energy system. I call it a matrix. But whatever solution I'm looking for, I identify the solution, remove non-beneficial energy, bring in beneficial, make it ongoing. And very important, disconnect. Because when you put, sometimes I'm working, the phone rings, and then I walk away. I forget that, oh, I'm in the middle of a dosing session. And about half an hour later, I'm exhausted. I go and it reminds me of when I had the arthritis. I get that sick and tired and exhausted again. And I ask myself, what happened? Oh, I didn't disconnect from the dosing system. Because we start working with all these energies at huge dimensional extent. And you need to close that door so we can go back and be a human again. So when we are out there, we are the avatars. When we come back, we just want to be our little human self again, and make dinner. Always disconnect. Number 10, always thank the energies and communicate results appropriately so people don't think you're crazy. In this group, we can say anything, right? But in the public, you maybe have to be careful. So send me an email, susan@doser.ca. I will send you a free copy of a PDF of the dosing protocol, as well as a triage protocol, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and then a plus-minus chart. So we just did a quick thing on that, but susan@doser.ca, and I will send you something. There's the chart, plus-minus. So mistake 4, and this goes back to our egos, being emotionally involved with the topic and being attached to the outcome. Well, of course we're attached to the outcome. If we're dosing for ourselves or our family or people we love, we are very attached to the outcome. And it's hard to separate from that, which is another good reason to have a buddy, a dosing buddy in a community, and ask for help, get another opinion on there. So, and that's what I'm suggesting here. Ask for help. If you're just worn down and you don't trust your dowsing, ask for help. Also accept help when it was offered. Back when I was in the crippled days, I was before I was all crippled up, I would never take help. Oh no, I don't need help. I'm that good. And then I couldn't, my hands didn't work. And then people would offer to open the door for me, for example. And I had to learn to say yes. I had to learn to ask for help and accept help, because people love to help each other. And then, you pay it forward, you help somebody else. For emotional stuff, EFT is very good, also known as tapping, and you can find that online, www.emofree.com. Gary Craig, he's got great stuff on that. And the dosing protocol, because when I do it twice a day, morning and night, in between clients. If anything weird happens to me, I go back into the dosing protocol. So it helps me stay centered, it helps me be safe and accurate, and that's what we're talking about tonight. So Carl Jung, another late great, he was a psychoanalyst, or I don't know what the proper term is, but here's what he said: knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. He's also the guy that talks about embrace the shadow. We can't go along pretending everything is fine if it's not. So honesty with the self is a huge thing. And again, I was one of those. I was raised up not to confront, not to complain, not to speak my mind, really. But that's something hard. It's been hard, but I've had to learn to do that. How do I feel? Let me communicate that, and to communicate it before it all gets too out of hand. But Carl Jung, read some of his stuff if you haven't. Carl, Jung. So, here we are in our happy lives, yet some things are a problem. Why do they persist? So think of an example if you want. Here's one. What's the payoff? Well, there's a gorgeous house that, not many people live in a house like that. So maybe maybe we're not speaking our truth because whatever we have, we're afraid of losing. And that's so human, right? And you have to forgive yourself already if you suck it up for the sake of other people. And, there's a place where that's important. But at some point, it turns into, a not very unpleasant time. The trade-off can be the loss of yourself in a broad sense. So, and only the individual knows what is the right choice. How much should you sacrifice? How much should you accept? You know, in human relationships, I was also raised to think that every relationship was perfect and there would never be conflict. So it's funny, right? So we know there's conflict in every human relationship, and we deal with it before things get out of hand. So address the problem, whatever the problem is. And the problem may look like something, you know, maybe, you know, here's the problem, but, you know, with your dosing, you can say, well, what's the source of that problem? Is there something else? The problem is the symptom of something. What is the source that is creating this upset? So this is where dosing can help you do that. So you figure out what the problem is, detect it, and then if you can, detach from it. And that is, again, where the dosing protocol helps, or EFT, or some of these other techniques that you might already have. There you say, observe the problem, or you're talking to your partner. I see you're very upset. Don't laugh when you say it. I see this as an important thing to you. I see this as very upsetting. How can I help, for example? If, you know, that's just one thing to say. So, but you detach. Don't get, you know, well, you said this to me, and then, well, you said that to me. It doesn't get you anywhere. Deal with it somehow. And this is, again, we talk about physical things and dosing things. And primarily here, we're talking about the energy aspects of, um, of, of dealing with problems. So manage relationships and situations by adjusting the energy and speaking clearly. And when I say adjust the energy, disconnecting non-beneficial energies around the problem. We can talk longer on that, but I'm going to move on. Mistake number 5, not knowing who or what we are connecting to when we go out into those realms, and being fooled by trickster energy. And I have to say, I've met many people who say they have seen specific archangels. I'm not going to say any particular archangel, but a lot of people think they see a certain thing. But it turns out that some of these extra conscious energies, you know, here it is. This is my theory. These extra consciousness seem to have the ability to flip through our memory banks and pull out an image that will either frighten us or that we will trust. So it's nefarious when they pull out something like an archangel or sacred figure to you and pretend to be that. It's also scary when they shock you. This can happen in dream states a lot. Something comes in and scares you. Either way, they're stimulating emotion. So you need to know who and what you are dealing with. And I use the protocol for that. Mistake number 6, asking for changes to occur too quickly. And that's something, you know, I want to, you know, if we say I want to lose 20 pounds as quickly as I can, and you energize that with your dosing, it may be, God forbid, that you have an accident and they amputate your leg, right? You lost 20 pounds as quickly as possible, which is why we always throw in as appropriate. And we ask to connect with our human bodies for our good health. So we want to really program into all our dosing. We are seeking good human health. And you may be seeking other things, you know, other expansive, other dimensional sorts of activities, but we need to have a healthy human body for the platform for that. We can't go off and chase the stars without being strongly in our bodies and rooted in our bodies. So please, and I see this with lots of folks too, all the upper chakras are activated and not the lower chakras, meaning, you know, not being on the planet, which, you know, go, this is what your mother told you, you know, drink lots of water, get sleep, and get fresh air. And that supports your human body. And you'll be in better shape for that. The remedy for asking for change too quickly is to ask to integrate the energies at the appropriate rate for assimilation. And this will avoid crying jags, headaches, upset, vomiting, all kinds of things. So sometimes the remedy, we experience it instantly, but sometimes it takes a little while to cook. And that is so that our body can process it. Our cell biology has a chance to recalibrate, which is an extremely important thing. We have to respect ourselves as humans. Mistake 7, not asking for an ongoing solution. So we mentioned this earlier, that if you just ask solution now, there it is. There's a solution and now it's gone. So what we want to look for is solutions that are in the past, present, and future. All dimensions, all time frames, all realities, and all frequencies. Now, you're going to have trouble reading this, but what we have, they don't want me to show it. They, whoever they is, right? I'm going to read it out. They've got the computer, they've got a circle, they've got a candle, they're doing a ceremony, they've got all these sacred objects. And one of them says, we should cast a circle, invoke the elements, and direct the energy. If that doesn't work, we'll read the manual. So, like, just read the manual, right? And then do all the work. Our computers do respond to us energetically, though. Mistake 8, not preparing for a session. So, be, as we saw in that dowsing protocol, be physically balanced, have water, be rested, don't be under the influence of various drugs. So prepare for the session, be in a calm state, have the tools, time, and information you need, and don't make assumptions. Don't assume things. Really go and look, and then you can dose. Do I have all the information I need to proceed at this time to create and maintain an ongoing successful solution? I use a lot of words. I was once flattered after a workshop by being told I was excruciatingly articulate, which I took as a compliment. But for me, the words, and again, writing them down on a piece of paper, it helps to really focus what you are doing, where you want to go, all the things you're up to. Big question always, am I safe? And you would dose for this. Should I dose the following information? So as your friend asks you to, oh, can you check into this for me? Dose, should I do that? Don't just jump in. Do I have enough psychic protection right now? Is my dosing low, medium, or high? Or ideally, you'd use this plus minus chart, which I'll send you if you send me an email. Mistake number 9, not creating that psychic protection before you begin. And, it's not all trickster and, horrible images. Not having enough psychic protection can look like this person just being confused. Like there's so many voices, there's so many options, I don't know what to do. So you've got to be really clear, really strong to do that. And I love all these. I love the media, right? So you can be Gandalf, you can be Luke Skywalker, you can be Neo, or you can just have your pendulum. I love it. So do a dosing protocol or similar, whatever you do. Maintain your sovereign being. That is the most important thing as you walk in the other worlds. Maintain your sovereign being, and that comes from having a strong, healthy body too. But know always who you are. And one of my colleagues, Many Horses, told me once, when you go on a journey, come back the way you went. Don't take a shortcut coming home. Stay conscious and create triggers for that, and you can stay conscious in the dream time also. Have a physical object. Some people think they don't need a physical object, but I think it's important to remind us, and I sometimes dig my nails into my skin so it hurts to put me back in the body. So if you don't have, have a tool, have some kind of tool, and don't forget protection while you sleep, which is why they invented prayers. Anyway, choose your metaphor there, one of those guys. Mistake number 10, not being culturally sensitive. So as you know, I have taught in person in the Middle East and Japan and across North America and the UK. And it's not all the same religion. It's not all the same level of norm. So before you go in there, start with neutral language. If you're doing in-person work, start with neutral language and ask a client what their preferences are. How would you like to word this? I've actually been thrown out of houses more than once by using words that I thought were completely benign, but were not acceptable. It's just like, okay, off you go. And when they tell you to leave, just leave and do that. Another thing, if you go on site with a client, let somebody know where you are. Leave a note on your kitchen table or send somebody a text so that somebody else knows where you are. I travel a lot by myself, go into a lot of places by myself. I always have my phone on me. My family has my tracks my GPS signal 100% of the time. So I've got 3 people tracking my GPS, which gives me a sense of safety. So do not go someplace alone. This is particularly true for a woman going into various places. Anyway, here's another one. Look at, if you read, there's a cartoon. There's a ghost playing an accordion, and the guy says, polka geists are way more annoying than the regular kind, right? A polka, as opposed to a poltergeist, which is throwing ghost. This is a polka geist. I think that's amusing. But you get that kind of stuff hanging around when you don't disconnect from a session. So you do your big session, you do your dosing, you're connecting with all these various things. You've got to shut the door on that, because this stuff will follow you home, attached to other things, animals, people, and start sucking your energy out. So disconnect, extremely important. If that's the only thing you remember tonight, that's enough. Disconnect after the session. And generally speaking, we're looking, are the energy, like there's lots, you read these books, there's lots of words for all the different types of energy. Really, I just break it down. Is it beneficial? Is it non-beneficial? Or is it neutral? And it's only in the last few months. I used to think neutral was okay, but neutral can now be potentially non-beneficial. So pay attention to the energies on average around you. And here's another thing to take away. Ask on average what the energies are. What's the average of the last week or the last day? Because in the moment you're dosing, things are sneaky and they may clear away. But the average, on average over the last 48 hours, have any energies, non-beneficial energies, been attached to my field, for example, is a way to say that. And you get a yes or no. But can dosing really change anything? So here's my little pep talk. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. What you allow is what will continue, and examine what you would tolerate. So I'll speak for myself. For years, I was held back by fear of all of this. This is like the Marianne Williamson quote, we are afraid of our own light and our own ability. Don't be afraid of it. Sometimes the chains that prevent us from being free are more mental than physical. And if you can see this picture, the horse is tied up to a plastic chair, but the horse is perfectly happy just standing there. So, really take stock of your surroundings. You are worthy of respect, love, and money. You can do this. We can all do this. How do I drill down to fix my problem? I'm going to just rapidly do this one. We've spoken generally. The other thing, and I'm going to send you a little handout on this, is the triage protocol. I always go in through my guides. I say, with honor and respect, and through my guides, I ask for the cooperation of the spirit of, like, the neighborhood, for example, to assist in bringing balance and harmony to the client name and their family. So I do this before I go on site, because I find it, before I get there, I know what's going on. I look at the various energy levels, and I ask each of them if they will cooperate. If any of them say no, we need to fix that before we go on, or else you don't have a solid solution. You might go in and fix it in the moment, but to have an ongoing safe solution, you need the cooperation of all the energies. So I've got a handout on that, looking at the levels of the energy, and also checking out, this is part of the triage, is the source of the problem an earth energy, an environmental energy, or a psychic energy? And does it come from the past, present, or future? And in what dimension, reality, and frequency? So this is like, this is everything. Just with that stuff, you can go everywhere and do everything. So again, susan@dowser.ca, I'll send you that handout. And there's all my books that you can order from me, dowser.ca, or the bookstore, ASD Bookstore has them, and I know Lisa would be happy to send them out to you. For me, coming up, I've got 2 dowsing boot camps for people who want to fine-tune their dowsing. One this Sunday, February 21 and March 21, and then Dose the Future, a 3-hour workshop, dosing for feng shui and space clearing, March 28, and the ASD National Convention, June 9 to 13, and we're all still just working out details on that, but it's going to be fabulous. So there's me, of course, once again. And I'm reminded to send the protocol. I will send you, I'll send you the protocol if you want. So that is my, talk really fast, go through all the mistakes I've made. I have made plenty more. I take full credit for screwing up many times. I apologize. And I forgive myself. We learn. If we don't try, we never really get there. So let's, Bill, if you've got some questions, I'll try to answer them. If you want to
Okay.
unmute yourself.
Yes, we've got a couple of questions here.
Okay.
Let's see. Chris asks, how is dowsing different from physical radiesthesia? And for those of people who don't know, I looked it up real quick. Radiesthesia is the science of using vibrational fields of the human body to access information about other objects of animate or inanimate nature by establishing resonance with their energy fields using specially calibrated instruments and the scale of qualitative measurement to decode this information. I had to
Okay.
look it up because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, this is like a biogeometry. Some of you are probably working with biogeometry. I will say there are many words associated with all the ways we can approach energy. For myself, I use any tool. The magic is in me, not the tool. So I think we are all brothers and sisters in our energy modalities with Reiki and various things that we all do. There are many paths to truth, and I think you will find your own path. For me, though, I am the magic. I change my vibration. I'm the one that is calibrated and recalibrating, not the tool itself. And I'm sure there's biogeometry people who have a more thorough look at it, but I respect anybody doing the work. Next
Awesome,
question.
awesome. In your introduction, you were talking a little bit about the sense of normal here. A lot of people who go into this kind of work struggle with this whole sense of normal. So what do you say to someone who's afraid to talk about their work, their dowsing work, because they're afraid that they will feel abnormal by a larger society?
Well, we have to choose our friends. I go around in disguise. Now, in my real world, I call myself a personal management consultant. I call myself a professional dowser, but I go by personal management consultant because people don't know what a dowser is. I know of a young man who came in extremely gifted as a child. I recognized his gifts, and I thought, if I take this kid to a doctor, they are going to drug him out. They're going to call him crazy, et cetera, et cetera. I think, and again, this is why it's important to find community, as with the American Society of Dowsers and the other societies. Find somebody that you can talk to. Your family may not appreciate it. And it's honestly, and I've said this with some of my colleagues, it's kind of a lonely life. Like, we're doing this work and we can't even explain it to people for the most part. But this is normal. This is a birthright ability that we have. It's the sixth sense, which is the electromagnetic sense. And it's not that hard to figure out. We are electromagnetic beings. We are recalibrating our electromagnetic energy all the time, and we are interacting with the electromagnetic energy of all other things. Not everybody wants to do that or is interested. So the idea, it is normal. It's not average.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't average, but what a great community to be part of. And honestly, we can do a lot of good work.
Excellent, excellent. So we also have here, someone would like to know, Barbara would like to know about your beautiful necklace.
Oh, thank you.
Is it anything in particular, or any energetic?
It looks good on camera.
No, it looks good on camera. There you go.
You know what? I have a lot of power necklaces, but they don't show up on the camera. So I went, this is just bling.
Just
But
bling.
I do have,
Okay.
I have a tree on my ring, and I have dragons in my ears, which if I'm doing and I'll show you other things too, if you can see this. I don't know if you can, with this background, you can't really see it. Anyway, I have various objects, physical objects that I rely on.
Hmm.
But in this case, this is bling.
And again, that was talking more about your point earlier about having things that help you ground, that help you, that keep you in the space.
Yep. Yep. Sometimes so here's my computer. I have a red cloth in front of it. I have an arrow, a golden arrow from Japan with a dragon around it, and a Buddhist sword always in front of me, which is my protection from whatever is there. And then I have, anyway, I have stuff, just
Okay.
find stuff, put it on.
All right. Sheila has a question here. Speaking of Carl Jung, do you relate to the collective unconsciousness as as part of the how we're all connected?
Well, again, this is, yes, I get, yes, like he lived 100 and some years ago. And he also, if you read his stuff, he had a guide. I can't remember his name, Philomena or something. Somebody can remember it. Anyway, he wrote down, yes, I walk with my guide, my spirit guide, and my spirit guide tells me things. He's the guy that came up with collective unconsciousness. Now we're into quantum physics, and that's a whole other talk. But quantum physics, we talk about quantum entanglement, that any two particles that were ever in contact with each other always are connected. At the Big Bang, everything was connected. So we are connected with everything. We talk about multiverse. I could go on a long time. In areas of intense electromagnetic fluctuation, which could be lightning, it could be Wi-Fi, it could be various explosions, there can be, a portal can develop through strong electromagnetic fluctuation, and other consciousness comes in. So, maybe, I'm just thinking of this, maybe the collective unconsciousness, the collective unconscious is the earth conscious, but now we're encountering off-planet, other world consciousness. Is that part of our collective unconsciousness? Probably it is, because a lot of us come from these other places too, which some of you will relate to. Many humans in these forms now originate in other systems. And here's another thing, that if you check for this on yourself, if you feel like this is you, ask if your human body systems now are calibrated for this planet, or are they still calibrated for where you came from? And you may be quite surprised. So recalibrate yourself for this planet.
Okay. Linda has a question. Linda asks, talking about being disconnected at the end of your session. How do you know for sure that you are actually disconnected?
Well, it's through practice. I use, with the motion of the pendulum, there's a disconnecting motion. So I didn't say this, but throughout the whole protocol, I'm running my tools. So I've got my yes, no. When it's disconnecting, it's disconnecting. And then when it finishes disconnecting, it stops moving. So my pendulums are a biofeedback device, which is another reason you want to use a tool. If you can't have the tool, you can clap your hands, snap your fingers, or just consciously, like, flip the switch down, disconnect. And then you can check with your tool after, am I now disconnected from the energies with which I have been working? However, you may choose, and you probably want to choose, to stay connected to your spirit team at whatever level works best for you. Like, you don't dump them all out.
Very good. Very good. All right. Nicole wants you to repeat the sentence. Do I have all the tools do I have all the tools at this time to?
Well, before a session, just be prepared.
Right.
So you have your paper, your pen, a glass of water. You probably want to have the window open. If you are, you want to write out, what am I trying to do today? Write out the question. If you're working for a client or for yourself, what is it that you're trying to achieve? Make sure that you've had something to eat. At least have a pendulum.
Okay, excellent. So when you were first dowsing to restore your own health, did you use charts? Did you have charts with various ailments on it? Were there a specific group of charts that you used to help you through that process?
Well, that's a very good question. This is a long time ago, like 20 years ago. I know I what I all I did 20 years ago. I went to the library because I didn't even know about dosing back then. So my medical story. I went to all the medical doctors, and they tried various things, and I'm still wrecked. So I just started going to the library. I started reading books, and that's how I found dosing. It was basically out of a book, and it was quite primitive in those days. Um, but now there's plenty. I'm not going to recommend any particular, except my own books, of course. I recommend them. There's plenty of stuff on the internet. The plus minus chart, which I showed you a couple of times, what I would, one of the easy ways I use that is I say, taking into account my physical health, please indicate how healthy my physical being is at this time, and it swings to a plus or minus. Please indicate if this food would be beneficial to me. Please indicate on the chart, is it plus or minus? So like good water would be a plus 10. Um, Drinking tequila at the same amount would be a minus 10. So you can make your own charts. There's plenty of charts out there on the internet. It's a journey. Again, it's a process that you commit to. You walk that path, and bit by bit, day by day. It took me 5 years to get off all my drugs.
Mm.
And I followed my doctor's advice all the way through that. He would say, "What poison are we going to give you today?" That's why I liked him.
Okay. When dowsing your intention, what kind of questions do you ask, and how do you ask those questions?
Well, usually there's something that you're trying to achieve. So, for example, let's say with, I don't even want to say, COVID. um, let's say relationship. Let's say relationship. Let's say we're going to work on a relationship. Let's say you meet somebody. Let's say you're looking for somebody um, in a relationship. People always want to do that. People always ask me, "Can you fix my husband?" I say, "No, I can't." But let's say you're in a relationship. You get out your tools. You notice I close my eyes now. So I'm changing my brainwave state. So what the dosing protocol, like when the conscious mind, it's eyes open, but as you start to go in, brainwave state changes, and sometimes the eyes close, and we do hand mudras as well. But you might ask, broad question, say about a relationship. Please indicate on the plus minus chart, please indicate how beneficial it is for me to pursue a relationship with this person, or for a job. And I'm doing a workshop on Dose the Future next week. Please indicate how beneficial, and the sigh, again, that's an example. We're changing brainwave states, and the sigh, and you'll experience a little electric shiver when you go down as well. That's one of the ways you recognize, yes, I'm going into a dosing state.
Mm-hmm.
But you break down, maybe you need money, maybe you need relationship, maybe you need health, and you want to break it out into steps. It's like you do a strategic plan, a tactical plan. If you need a job, you look for a job. And then you find, oh, there's 6 jobs there that might work. You can get your tool out. Please indicate the overall benefit to me of sending my resume into this job here.
Excellent, excellent.
Anyway, how long have we got here? Because we're at an hour, and I don't want to keep
Okay,
people up.
we'll do one more question and then we'll
Okay.
close up.
Okay.
Okay, last question here is from Linda, and she wants to know what your nightly ritual is to protect yourself before you go to sleep at night.
I do the dosing protocol.
Hmm?
That's it. And honestly, my clients can't believe it. That, if you've got any problem, and this is, based on my wonderful teachers who I appreciate so much. And because because I was clairsentient and under attack, I never had a nice experience in my whole life about any nice angel. My stuff was always black figures hanging over my bed all the time. You know, I work with the alien community. Uh,
Hmm.
those I go to those conferences, and I do have a book on aliens. One of the things there is sleep paralysis. People sometimes they can't move and they feel a dark figure. This is a very common thing. Because as a child, I didn't have sleep paralysis. I would throw myself out of bed. This is the amygdala hijack, fight, flight, or freeze. My amygdala threw me out of bed, but I never had a single nice thing happen to me in terms of energy. It was always terrifying. So being clairsentient and being quite sick, I had to work really, really hard to get better. So I practiced that dosing protocol, disconnecting non-beneficial energies, enhancing beneficial energies, and asking for ongoing protection. I also ask for useful information in my dreams. That's one of the things I add in there. And generally, when I wake up in the morning, I've got some great idea. So I'm currently working on lucid dreaming, where we know we're dreaming and perhaps can do some more work in there. I once wanted to land on the moon,
Hmm.
and I finally had a dream where I landed on the moon on a motorcycle. I was very pleased with myself. Anyway, but adapt all the stuff. You've got your own culture, your own tradition, your own way you do things. Just try things and dose them, and you will find your own path. I'm sure you will.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much, Susan. It was wonderful, wonderful. If you're interested in any of the things that Susan has written, she has a full catalog of books available through the ASD bookstore and on her website. And her website is dowser.ca. And she's also She also has a YouTube channel, Susan Collins Dowser, and she has a Facebook page, Susan Collins Dowser, and she's on LinkedIn and Twitter, and so she's really easy to get a hold of. And she also has developed these cards, an oracle system that helps guide your path. We really didn't talk about that today, but she also sells unique bobbers, pendulums, and L rods. And so if you're interested in any of that merchandise, you can go on her website and purchase these, or you can purchase them through the ASD bookstore. And Lisa will be more than happy to help you out with all of that information. And that basically concludes our workshop tonight. I just want to remind you that our next workshop is going to be on March the 20th, Saturday, March the 20th, with Graham Gardner at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that premises,
3 p.m., 2 p.m. or 3 p.m.?
I have 2 p.m.
Okay, check the website.
Yes, on the email that I got from Lisa, it's 2 p.m.
Okay.
Eastern time, Saturday, March the 20th. Graham Gardner. I don't have 10 ways to space clear your home. So that sounds very interesting. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And we look forward to hearing that. And with that, we are concluded. Thank you very much, Susan. And thank you, everybody, for attending. This was a lot of fun. And I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.